Hello my friends and welcome back to Garhdo Goes Geek. On today's episode I just have a short little review for you for a film that has recently come out that I was looking forward to ever since I saw the first trailer. I think it's amazing and I'm going to recommend it to you wholeheartedly, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I'm going to go into just a little bit about it. I'm not going to go too huge on spoilers, but yeah, I'm just going to give you my thoughts on the film and why I think it's so good. This episode, and many others that will likely follow in the next coming months, was recorded during the Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA strike in America. Now, I just want to put a quick note at the beginning of this and any other episodes that are recorded during the strike, just to say that while I will not be boycotting my channel or stopping content unless the unions call for it, I will be putting this on any new reviews or any new episodes. The items that I talk about would not exist without the talent behind them, whether that is writers, directors, producers, or actors. And especially, as you may have noticed in previous episodes, some of the things I talk about the most, besides, direction and theming, is writing and the character work. They tend to be, for me, some of the strongest things of all of these fictions and are the reasons why I'm interested in the fandoms that I am. I am interested because of the actors involved, because of the performances that they put out, because of the strength of the writing, how well it unifies the themes of the story, how well it gets everything across. And as a result, this channel and myself completely supports both strikes. I want the actors, regardless of any merit of their work, whether I think that a film is good or bad is nothing compared to how well they should be paid for that work. They did a job, they should get the money. Not the people at the top, not the studio heads, not the shareholders. The people who made the product should get the money for that product. And as we are now in an age where a lot of things are being taken off of streaming services and removed wholesale from any form of digital marketplace, the chance of residual streaming rights, of things becoming cult hits and becoming sensations decades down the line, is beginning to vanish. And I hope that these strikes manage to light the fire in Hollywood that changes things like that. This disclaimer will be on every episode published during the strike, as I've said, whether it is a long form episode or a review. However, should you wish to skip it, it will be slightly under 3 minutes long, and you will be able to do that in the future. However, I hope you would agree with me that it is necessary in these times. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think everyone pretty much knows the Turtles. There's a lot of weird things in the Turtles franchise, which I am going to do an episode about next year, for their anniversary year as well next year, 40th anniversary of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I am going to be doing a more focused episode on them next year. But I did want to talk about this film in particular because from the moment I saw the first trailer on this was giving me something that, like a feeling that I felt like I've wanted from the Turtles for a long time, and it was only when I saw this trailer that I realized that feeling was missing. And that is that so many versions of the Turtles have latched on to one element of them, like the ninja element. They are very skilled, very highly trained ninjas. They are mutants. They can't fit in. The Michael Bay films had that as quite a quite a strong thread, especially in Out of the Shadows, which I think is the better of those two films. Had a very strong theme of, the turtles can't fit in. They're mutants, they're outcasts. Very similar to how a lot of things get used in, say, for example, the X-Men. The aspect of this, which I noticed straight away from that very first trailer, even from the first casting announcement, was the teenage element that's at play. These turtles, for the first time, I think, in any Turtles media that I've watched, really feel like teenagers. And I think a large part of that is because they're actually being voiced by teenagers. Excuse my phone, I'm apologizing for that. But yeah, they feel like teenagers in this. They have, actual... They're being voiced by teenagers. They have this repartee between them that feels very organic, feels very natural, feels like the exact sort of things I see with my kids. Like, my children are teenagers, and, these are teenagers. They're bickering with each other. They're arguing, and riffing and bouncing off of each other. Not so much playing pranks or arguing in the same way as they have in some other versions. Like there's, the 2012 series, for example, featured a lot of like Mikey playing pranks on the others. Most versions of the Turtles have featured a lot of interaction between Raph and Leo. But it's like, no, in this, like, one of their goals is to go to high school. They want to go to high school. They want to interact with other kids. They feel lonely. They feel cut off from their community. The only community they have is each other. And they all feel like teenagers. Like the trailers say, Raph has a rage problem. Donatello's clearly very... Donatello and Mikey are clearly the two younger ones of the group. In terms of their development, they feel a bit more immature, whereas Leo and Raph are a bit older, a bit more competent. And yeah, it was really working for me. Like from the very first trailer I saw, and I was like, I need to see this film. Combine that with this fantastic voice cast. I mean, the actors playing the roles of the Turtles, I've forgotten all of them now. I don't have the list in front of me. Brady Noon is Raphael. Micah Abbey, I believe, is Michelangelo Donatello. I've forgotten all their names. But they are so good as the kids. And you can tell while watching it that they've clearly recorded their lines together. Because there are so many moments in the film, I counted at least like 3-4 moments, where it feels like they are just riffing off of each other. And that's the sort of thing that you only really get in animated media when the actors are recording around each other. And that's not something that happens a lot anymore. That's really uncommon. It's uncommon in video games, it's uncommon in animation. It's one of the things that makes voice acting very, very tricky, because for a lot of the time, voice actors aren't interacting with someone else. It's why you get so many actors, film actors, stage actors, who can give this amazing performance with, in live action shows or in theatre, but then can give these flat performances when they're in video games. A good example that was quite often criticised was Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry obviously played Chandler in Friends, did an amazing role there. Had this natural humour. He was riffing off the other characters, playing off the audience, dropping his own lines, improving. It's a really good performance. They hired Bethesda and ZeniMax and not Bethesda, it was Obsidian, hired him for a role in Fallout New Vegas to capitalize on that exact type of character that he was playing. The thing is, he's alone in a recording booth. There's no one to riff off of. He's the other lines. He can't hear how the other actors have delivered their lines, and the character he's interacting with the most is a silent protagonist. So there are no read-throughs back. There's just the script in front of him, and as a result, the performance was quite flat. Another example was Peter Dinklage in Destiny. And, again, Peter Dinklage, fantastic actor. His performance in Destiny quite derided, to the point that he was eventually replaced with Nolan North, who is a more accomplished voice actor. And obviously, these kids, the kids they've hired are voice actors. They've done work in voice acting. Like, one of them is in Diaries of a Wimpy Kid. One of them is in Adventures of Gumball. They've done actual voice acting roles, so they're used to voice acting. But getting them to actually interact with each other, brilliant. Apparently Seth Rogen did it because he saw them on like a recording break, and they were in the kitchen all together and just riffing off of each other. And he was like, oh, I've got to record them together. And then that extended to the rest of the cast. Like, when they're interacting with the main villain, Superfly, who is played by Ice Cube, Ice Cube is recording his lines with the kids. Seth Rogen and John Cena, who play Bebop and Rocksteady, were recording their lines together. So there's times in this where you have like up to 7 actors in the booth together, all recording their lines. I think it's brilliant. More animated properties need to do this. And also, while I'm speaking of the animation in this is absolutely exquisite. It is beautiful. Everything in it looks like it's been sketched and kind of rough colored in and hand drawn, and it makes you want to draw. Like, I haven't felt inspired to, like, I got home and I paint minifigures, right? So I got home and I've started painting. I've been painting figures over the past couple of days. I haven't picked up a paintbrush in months. This is the first time I've been sat and doing painting for a while, because watching this, like, if you're not inspired after seeing this to do something creative, to splash some color on something, whether it's a page, a model, a wall, I don't know why not, because everything in this movie is so bold and colorful, and really everything looks so hand-drawn. And it's really good as well. Like, the direction is fantastic. Like, there is some really good direction here as well. Some really good cinematography. And as weird as it is to think of cinematography in an animated movie, especially a CGI animated movie, but this just looks fantastic. There are choices with the direction, with the camera, with where how the shot is laid out, how this particular scene is being filmed, quote unquote filmed, and it really works and combines for this amazing visual spectacle. Like, this is quite possibly the best animated film I have seen since Spider-Verse, since the very first Spider-Verse. And I've also seen the sequel, but I think this was better in terms of how it looked and how it presented itself. It's probably one of the best animated films I think I've ever seen, in terms of just capturing something that is so unique to the medium of animation and making it work for the story that they are telling. It's absolutely sublime. Like, the direction by Jeff Rowe, who also worked on Mitchell's versus the Machines, which I've heard nothing but rave reviews about, or derisory jokes, but that's a story for another time. Like, how Western media especially kind of devalues animation. Mitchell's versus the Machine got jokes made about it at the Oscars, but it's like, it was nominated for an Oscar because it was apparently a really good movie. This is also a really, really good movie. Like, it was so much fun. And I think because everyone kind of knows who the Turtles are, everyone kind of has an idea of these characters through pop culture osmosis. Everyone knows the Turtles. Because of that, I think this is a film that anyone could enjoy. Like, take your kids to go see it. Go see it yourself. It's amazing. And, this year, there's been a lot of very good films released over the past couple of years. And, part of that has been because of everything that happened with COVID. A lot of the big releases got pushed back. And now, of course, we're starting to see that with the strike as well. Some other big releases are being pushed back. But we are going to end up in a film drought if this strike carries on for too long. I think the writers' strike is already now the longest running strike in America, the longest running Writers Guild strike, and now obviously SAG-AFTRA are striking as well for the first time since like 1960. So things are going to be impacted, and we've had pretty much a golden age of film and television for a good few years now, especially with streaming. Um, and there was a bit of a drought over COVID because everyone was pulling their releases back to wait until cinemas were open. And it's not very often I go to the cinema. It's not very often I decide to treat myself to a cinema film. And if I do, it's for something that I usually know I'm going to enjoy and that I'm really going to enjoy watching in a cinema format. As a result, most of the things I tend to see are, things like the Marvel films, the Marvel and DC, the superhero films, because I know I enjoy those characters. I know I enjoy the worlds that they're in. So they're the choices I go to see. I go to see things like, this year I've seen Quantumania, Dungeons and Dragons, Guardians of the Galaxy, John Wick. I also saw in the cinema, but that's because I'd seen the other three at home, so I really want to see the fourth one in the cinema. It was absolutely amazing. Blue Beetle, I think I want to see when that comes out. I do want to see the Barbie movie. My partner Tallulah has seen it twice. Zulu has also seen it once. They both loved it. The kids have all seen it. They went with their mother to see it. They loved it. So I'm the only person in the family who hasn't seen it yet, and I really, really want to. But I decided to go see this instead. And I'm very, very much recommending it as probably one of the best films I've seen this year. And this is a year with some very strong contenders. Like, just in terms of. It's not fantastic, don't get me wrong. The script isn't amazing. The plot beats are very quite clearly telegraphed. You kind of know where the film is going to go and the route it's going to take. It's a film that's been designed for a mass market appeal, so it follows a very standard story. And yeah, so this is one that I very heartily recommend because of just how good it was. Like, yeah, like I said, the writing is nothing spectacular. It's following quite standard, not tropey beats, but you kind of know that you can guess the direction it's going to take. It's not a story that's going to be uncommon. But the characters anchoring it really work. The relationships between the characters really work. And the visuals are stunning. And so as a result, while you may not be surprised by the steps taken on the journey, I think you will enjoy the journey itself. And there's plenty more I could go into. Like, there's spoilers I could talk about. I don't want to. I want, at this point, this to just be a review. Just go and see it. I think you'll really enjoy it. I think you'll love it. Go and see it and enjoy it. It's a very, very good film. And if it doesn't get nominated for one of the best animated movies at next year's Oscars, I think I'm going to riot because this is incredible. Like I said, best animated film I've seen since the first Spider-Verse. And that's including the second Spider-Verse. Like, just, it looks so good. So, yeah, go and see it. See it on the big screen, see it at home, but just see it. And we're going to get more of this universe. Like, they've already confirmed they're doing a series focusing on these turtles before they get to the sequel. You know, so there is a post-credit sequence. Not a post-credit, it's like a mid-credit sequence. Quite a lengthy mid-credit sequence as well, actually, that kind of sets up a lot of those steps. And all of it is quite interesting. And, you know, there are some things done that we've not really seen before with this franchise. So I'm very intrigued. And yeah, I'm just very curious to see more. Because I think that what is here is a really good foundation. Like, the whole sort of the way this is done, this feels like if you were going to build a universe off this is a really good framework. But that it was a framework that also works as its own film, which is the most important thing. Like, it works as its own film, it's got its own story, its own stakes, its own conclusion that works. But there is plenty of room to build stuff off. And considering how many just, like, failed cinematic universes we've had, even with the Turtles, like, the Michael Bay live-action Turtles movies were trying to do that. This does it much better. And it's animated, so it works a lot better. Yeah. Go see it. You'll really enjoy it, I think. If you've if you align with my views on any of the stuff I've ever talked about, then I think you will really enjoy it. Thank you, my friends, for once again joining me on Garhdo Goes Geek. Your continued support for this podcast means the absolute world to me. And I am grateful for every single one of you who stays and listens to one of my episodes. It means the absolute world. Now, if you would like to engage more with me or the podcast, we have a Discord community, small but growing, and we now have commissions open on Ko-Fi. So if there's a topic you would like to see me cover, you can pay me to cover it. All funds will be used for legal purchase of the relevant items where I do not have them. Have a look on the link tree for more information. Until next time, look after yourselves.